Hawco from 31 Virtues. Some of you may have seen some of my videos already on my YouTube channel. My intention with putting up 31 Virtues is to help people out and get some clarity on the different virtues. And once a month, I have a phenomenal guest who I think lives that particular virtue. And this month's virtue is perseverance. And when you hear this man's story, you'll know exactly why I asked him to be my guest. So what I'm asking you to do right now is to imagine this. You're 29 years old. You take a motorcycle out for a test drive. And then the next thing you know, you wake up in the hospital. Your left side is paralyzed. Doctors are telling you you'll never walk again. You'll never eat on your own or solid foods again. You'll never speak clearly again. And you'll never. So your life starts off with all these nevers. And the worst part is your memory has been erased, including knowing who you are. So just imagine that. It's like 29 years old. You'll have your the world by the tail at that point, or so we think anyway. And so this young man is listening to these doctors saying, well, you're never going to this, never. And there was something in his mind that said, I don't believe that. That's not true. That's not my truth anyway. And so this is why I wanted to talk about perseverance today, because this young man, Daniel Bax, is perseverance in action. So he wakes up this day in the hospital, and for 5 years, the next 5 years, he is basically struggling through his life to figure out who he is. What's my name? Can you imagine? Not remembering a thing. He thought his mother was the nurse. And so he's going to tell us a little bit about why didn't he succumb to the prognosis that he had? Why didn't he believe what the doctor said? But there was something stronger inside of him that said, no, I'm going to have a different life. So I know that you will want to contact Daniel after our get together here. And so you can always go beneath this YouTube video, and I'll have all of his contact information for you to contact him. But I don't want to wait any longer. I want to introduce Daniel Bax. So Daniel, thank you so much for being here with me. I mean, you are the epitome of hope for so many people. You are living and breathing and thriving. Look at you. You're smiley. I remember when I first met you, you didn't look quite the same because it was years ago. And now your accident, it happened in 2005. And so It's been 16 years and 43 surgeries later.
43rd one right here.
And you still have that smile on your face. But not only that, you even wrote a book, The Life of Your Choice. Yes, show us all. The Life of Your Choice. Moving from, oh no, to, oh wow. So anyways, Daniel, when you were 29 and this happened to you, this was probably and hopefully the biggest pivotal moment you've ever have. So I want you to tell us all what was inside of you that said, I can't accept what you just told me, Doc. Thank you so much, but I can't accept it. What was it? What was that voice inside of you that said, no, I'm not doing that?
Great question. I gotta say it's probably definitely a two-stage thing. One was the divine speaking to soul, and soul is as people say, I had a spiritual experience. Like, no, you're a spirit or soul having a human experience. So when I wrecked myself, and the doctor said you never walk again properly unassisted, never talk again clearly because I only had one or two vocal cords. What happens when you partially separate your head? Told not to lose my head. I think I took it too literally. And walk in, talk in, eat solid foods, never move my left side because I endured the equivalency of 3 severe strokes and 4 massive heart attacks. I likely won't remember anything prior to the incident because I flatlined my memory. Wow. Erased it totally. And when they were saying that, the first thing that, I said to them, I looked at the surgeon, the head surgeon that came in. I said, thank you for your opinions, but your opinions are not going to become my reality. I'll see them as a perspective of what I must do so I can move forward. And I said that to my mom. She goes, no, you didn't. It's like, why? She goes, you couldn't even make a peep like with only one vocal cord. I had to learn how to talk again and utilize my cords, or one cord anyways. And she goes, you couldn't even make it. You couldn't even make a sound. I said, I swore. I said, I heard it so clearly, but it was in my mind.
Yes.
That I said, thank you for your opinions, but I will not let them become my reality because I have a different vision of my future.
Right.
And that was, from that moment on, it was soul speaking to me saying, well, soul said, that's your human. And you wrecked it, you fix it. So and the great thing is my family took a lot of the stuff that I had on in my office previously, different words and different statements, sayings and statements that I had, and post them around so that at least I wouldn't be looking at a blank wall. Mm-hmm. And therefore the memory's blank. Like most people that come out of a massive head injury or strokes or whatever it is, their memory blank because they got nothing to look at, nothing to stimulate it. Well, the great thing is they put this one thing that I drew out and I had it on the wall in my office. And Mom took it there and she posted it on the wall in the
right
in the medical room that was it. And it was, I can, I will, I must, which you say something like that in your chapter. Yeah. Okay. And that was through Anthony Robbins. That's his motto, one of his big mottos. And I wrote it out. The first words, because I couldn't speak anything. The first words I could say, Mom heard me whispering. She's like, what are you saying, honey? She put her ear right down above my mouth and she heard me say, I can, I will, must. And that's exactly what I saw on the wall because that's what I read every day. So after I learned how to comprehend language and speak it, I started to whisper that. And so that was my statement that got me through all my rehab and got me through everything. It's I can, I will, I must make it through this and make a difference in my life.
So Daniel, you're, for a non-looker looking in on your bed as you lay there in the hospital, they would go, oh my gosh, that guy is doomed. And so on the inside of you, even though you couldn't move, you kept seeing a different reality. You saw the reality you wanted to create. Mm-hmm. So for all the people that are in the world right now that have horrible circumstances in their life, that where they just can't, they feel that I don't think I'll ever get out of this. What can you tell them to help them grow that seed that you had?
Great question again. It goes back to something you said in the book. It says perseverance, deciding on something and continuing to move ahead. And I add to it, until you achieve.
Right.
It's something that you hear all great leaders, anybody that's ever overcome anything, is decide, make a decision, have that vision. And if you got to create a vision board, which I did, I had a vision board of just people walking without assisted devices or out of the chair, somebody riding a bike because I wanted them to ride a bike again. So I got all these pictures of just people movement. And that was my vision, was to create movement. And so I strived over and over and over and over again. And when they told me that that's not possible, I had one therapist tell me, that's not possible, Daniel. It's like, I said, I want to learn how to stand or walk the stairs. She goes, that's not possible, Daniel. Then when they found me trying to walk the stairwell in the hospital, I got in a big pile of crap. But the therapist came up to me afterwards. She goes, Daniel, anytime you say you're going to do something, if we can't get it to it that session, we will get to it by next session. I said, you promise? He goes, yes. Okay. Then there was one time when I wanted to learn to stand unstabilized, like learn how to stand alone. And she goes, you're not ready for that, Daniel. I looked at her and I said, I want to learn to stand alone. She looks at me and goes, next session, we'll take that on. Because she knew I'd be doing it anyways. But what I'm saying with that is a perseverance. Trying to understand how to make the toe move. I couldn't even feel my left side from eyebrow to toe. Was completely numb. To figure out how to make that move again and again and again. It's not just perseverance in time, but it's perseverance, the consistency of effort and consistency of focus on whatever it is you're doing, whether it be with business, whether it be you're trying to take on a track team or to be a member of a track team or heal yourself. Be persistent with a single focus instead of being scattered all around, because that just has you so diverse that nothing gets accomplished. Mm-hmm. So when it was going through my rehab, I made the decision and I wrote it down on a board in my room. Whatever it was I was focusing on that week. 1 week was learning how to talk or form a full sentence in one full breath without gasping for air.
Right.
Next one might have been learn how to stand for 2 minutes, and that was my focus. I just put 2 minutes standing, so I had a singular focus each time until I achieved it.
So, okay. So what gave you the faith to keep going and persevere, even though you didn't see the results yet? What was inside of you that gave you that faith? What do you think that was?
Tenacity, ignorance, determination. There's also the big part that people don't know what they don't know until they try it. Right. And a lot of people that tell you that's something, like all the opinions of other people, that tell you, Daniel, that can't happen. You can't do this, or that's not possible. Well, that's because they've said that to the last, say as a therapist, you've said that to the last 100 clients, and maybe one made a difference. And you might say, well, they're lucky. But if you're telling everybody that, and they're taking that on as their opinion, as they're taking your professional word as reality, as it is, then I'm sitting back going, what's the chance of me doing that? I might as well not. But if I looked at it, which was a bonus of having brain injury, because I couldn't remember what the hell they said yesterday, they would look at me and say, that's not possible. I might look this way, look back and say, well, I'm going to try this, see if that's possible. I forgot it. At the same time, I was so determined to make it work. It's like a kid, like a baby. Right. Or like you try to tell them you can't walk, they're going to learn how to freaking walk anyways, whether you want them to or not. So on that, what I'm saying here is, when you've got professionals telling you can't do something, the mass majority don't, because they live their lives out by someone else's opinion. Because I chose not to live my life out by someone else's opinion, because I had a greater vision of myself, taking things on and accomplishing more in life. their opinion it gave me a perception of what I really must do and how determined and how much I must persevere to make this happen. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove myself right.
Yes. So, because the only competition in the world is what we have with ourselves anyway. So basically, what I hear you say is you exercise your right of choice. There'll always be people that will come and go in our lives that will tell us their way or the other way or whatever way. But somehow inside of you, your divine essence, call it whatever you will, was saying, no, Daniel, you know you have your own choice to make, and it doesn't have to be the same as the masses. So there was something inside of you that said, thank you for your opinion, but that's all it is. And I'm going to make my own choice. And I'm going to show myself that if I found myself in this hospital bed and not being able to move or remember or anything else, if I got there, I'm going to find a way to get out of there. And that's what you're saying. So it really boils down to a choice. And so yes. I guess the message for anyone on looking is if you can do it, you can be an inspiration to other people to pick yourselves up and just make a different choice.
Absolutely. And at the same time, I'll touch on what you just said. See, sometimes some people might just say, well, I don't know how I got here. I just am. Got it. You don't have to worry about how you got there. You got to be more focused and determined on see where you want to go, and then find ways, do the research, take time and persevere until you get there. Once you start seeing the first step and it comes through, you got that much more. It's like momentum. It just starts moving you in the direction of where you want to go. So once I realized that I can actually wiggle my toe and then wiggle my foot, then I was moving my leg, moving my knee. And it's like, okay, I said, now I got to stand.
Yeah.
And I fell down a few times, but it was my perseverance of saying, okay, I got to stand. Now I got to understand my body more and add a few more things. So I had to learn more things to understand how to hold my body straight. Then walking was, oh my gosh, I got stairs to walk. Well, now it's about, I advanced myself to the point where I could stand. Again, it's little steps at a time. It wasn't like I got out of bed and said, okay, I walk the steps. Got out of bed. First learn how to stand. First learn how to be stable. Then learn how to get near the steps. Then I had to understand how to activate the different muscles to move the steps and how I should brace things or hang on to the railing. So it's by taking on the small steps, each one until you get there. And then you look back and realize, holy cow, I'm running.
Yeah.
And then you forget all the little things that you did to get there, but it's that perseverance of choosing the next step to move yourself forward, even if it's a small thing like wiggling a toe.
Right. So let's go back to when your very first awareness after you wake up in the hospital room. I mean, it had to be devastating. What was your first thought? Like, was it overwhelming, or is this a dream? What was your first thought and first feeling about that?
You never will hear somebody say something wonderful about brain injury. But I'll say this to you. That's the wonderful part about brain injury, because if I woke up and I was conscious and I realized I was paralyzed, all these devastating thoughts and opinions and everybody else's opinions and crap and blah, blah, blah would roll into my head, and which ultimately 99% of the time demotivates somebody and keeps them stuck in their chair, in their space, and maybe a small percentage, like 3 or 5%, did some research, actually get up and start moving and make a difference. The rest of them just stay there. But with brain injury, I didn't know I was paralyzed. I didn't know that I was this or I was that. That's my mom. She was always called Nurse Lady.
Yeah.
Because she was always there every day. So I just called her Mama Nurse Lady. I didn't know her name or who she was. It was Nurse Lady. But it was, when I woke up, it was like a child. Just imagine an infant understanding. Like you see them looking at their fingers. And you see them looking at the toes when the toes are wiggling. I did exactly the same thing. So I literally reborn again 16 years ago.
Wow. That's really amazing. And in your case, it's almost like ignorance was bliss, because you went back almost like Benjamin Button. You almost went back to, like you said, with babies, you wiggle fingers and they're like, wow, everything in awe. And so along with your memory of who you were that got wiped out, what else got wiped out was, I can't do that. That doesn't work. That stuff that we've all had, that got wiped out too. So
that quote unquote common sense that people would say, well, you don't think that's really possible. It's like, well, you look at a child or an infant, or even when you're a child, different things that you may have done, and that people would have said, how the heck did I do that? It's like, well, we don't know how kids do things just because they don't see the limitations. They just go and do it.
Yes. You know what? That's such a good point, because the thing is you, when you came to awareness, is you started, when the doctors are saying this, that's good. When the doctors are saying this, you're going, what? Oh, no, I can. Oh yeah, I can, and I will. And so you were into this space of newness almost. Isn't that interesting? So you kind of had the newness of a baby.
It is exactly that. Everything from understanding how to communicate, understanding how to scratch an itch. Because I know there was times my mom was saying, Daniel, stop throwing your arm, because this side would paralyze. I just grab my arm, throw it over here. And she goes, stop throwing your arm. That's your arm. I was like, that doesn't work anyways. I don't know. I didn't figure out how to make it work yet. So I was like, it's just a nuisance in my way. I throw it and it'd bang off the railing of the bed. You're going to break that damn thing. Stop it. So, but yeah, it was even to the point where it came down to, when I got used to my arm and used to my left side, it was about just figuring out, how does this work? Oh, wow, I can do that, or I can do this. Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a kid. It's like, what keeps them going is that curiosity.
Yes.
And as I say to many people, it's like, doesn't matter where you are. People go, well, that was devastating. Yes, it was, in some sense. But then the good thing is I didn't recall what I lost, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But the great part was that I had that injury. So I did that common sense didn't get in my way. Mind you, though, I had to relearn life, which was probably equally as hard, just a different section of hardness. And as I say to many people, it's like, just come at things. If you find it an obstacle too large, or you find an obstacle it's overcoming you, come at it with an innocence. Yeah. Look at it from an innocence, because nothing is impossible when you look at it, and everything is possible. So, then nothing is impossible.
Yes. So now you've been coined the Miracle Man. And can you tell us how you got that wonderful label?
Yeah, it was very interesting. I actually signed up for go on Bob Proctor's first cruise, the Caribbean cruise. And I was on that cruise, and his business partner, Paul Martinelli, they connected with me, and he was talking with me and introduced me with Bob. And we're sitting down at a dinner table one night, and Paul looked over and goes, I'm going to call you the Miracle Man, because they were doing a cruise after the movie The Secret. And there's a person in there that's called the Miracle Man because he was burnt, and then he got paralyzed after being burnt.
Right.
And Paul looks at me and goes, we're going to call you the Miracle Man. That's it. So for the rest of the cruise, they already called me the Miracle Man.
That's quite an honor. Well, that speaks for who you are, and having such a huge thing happen in your life, and to basically start all over again with your walking and talking and eating and thinking and everything else. So where are you today with your health? I know you've had 43 surgeries. God bless you for all that, because that is perseverance in itself. And so just give us a glimpse of what it took for you to get to where you are, where you can walk and run and eat, and give us a little bit of how you got there.
It was just consistency, and I met some people that were very shady and took me for a ride. I met some people that were very good and are helping me lift me up and take on different levels. Like right now with I'm a business associate. We're doing renovations and land maintenance and permaculture, and we're looking at building some tiny homes. I'm going to be building a tiny home for myself this year, potentially. And then just taking on more business. And as I had a vision of what I was going to be doing, how I saw my business unfolding, which goes back into some of the things that you said, even in perseverance. Focus on your vision and learn. Thing is at the same time, it's those tiny steps. If you're taking it this way and you recognize that it's not working, doesn't mean you got to quit. It just means come at it from a different angle.
Yeah. So
I had a vision of I was going to be this great speaker and this author and a coach, and we're going to go do this and take that. And then eventually I'll end up buying some property, and I'll take on building some tiny homes and build a small wellness community. Well, the first half got sort of knocked all sideways with the people that I had working with me as a team. and so now I'm just taking it from the back end. Mm-hmm. I figured if I want to talk to people about living sustainable, living a better life, or the holistic life, a natural life of healing and being wellness and connected with the earth, I might as well jump out of the what's it called? The matrix of the city and go and live that life myself.
Right.
So I'm taking it from that point. I'm going to start building and developing it and work on that area first, and then come back in through that. I'll start speaking and coaching and authoring my second book.
And oh yes, there's at least 3 more books inside of you. You've got a lot of years to go, and so we look forward to a whole series of books from you. Yeah. If you were to look back and to your 14-year-old self, what would you say to him, to little Daniel?
Great question. Wow. It would probably be that other people's opinions matter to get a perspective, but they don't matter because they won't make a difference. They're not there to construct and design your life. So people's opinions don't matter, but hear them and get the value out of them.
So what I hear you say is you can respectfully listen to others' opinions, but it doesn't necessarily, you're not obligated to live by them. Exactly.
They're not the definite end of things. Like, for example, where I was prior to this incident, that day of, the opinions of the person I was dating were too strong on me and had me spinning, maybe not of that day, but in that time being with that person,
right,
that it put me in a place where I just took on life and didn't give a crap. And therefore I got myself in a motorcycle accident. At the same time, when you're in the hospital and they say, you can't, you will never, not possible, impossible. Well, I stopped at it and I looked at it and I figured, okay, if everything's impossible, and here's the fun part, I didn't know how to spell either. I didn't know how to spell or anything. But then I understood how to start reading words. First, you sound it out word by letter, and then you create the word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you take the word impossible, I am possible.
Yes.
So whenever anybody told me, Mr. Bax, that's impossible, I just go, yeah, thank you, I know. and my therapist's like, why are you always smiling when you tell me it's impossible? It's like, I am possible. They all went, whoa, this guy's got something more. So on that, it's that I when you get somebody else's opinion, it's more hear it as a perception to give you a perspective of what you must do or how you can go, not so much always around it, but go over or through it or under it and break down that barrier, because oftentimes people's words of impossible is their barriers that stop them from moving ahead. So therefore they're putting that limits on you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, a person can only give you what they have. And, I mean, we've all been influenced by our parents, our teachers, anyone. And then, and then there comes a point in life where you go, oh, that's good. I mean, they all have their own opinions, and I respect their opinions, but it doesn't necessarily work for my life. And so basically, it sounds like the silver lining in this whole accident was, I mean, sure, we want to learn and grow without ever going to that drastic measure, but for you, it forced you in a way to grow and develop, because especially anytime I find, well, we're laid up, whether we're, in your case, you were paralyzed and, you probably had casts on and all kinds of things going on. But anytime we're laid up, even I find, even with not feeling well for a day or two, for me, I go inside and say, okay, I'm laying on this couch because obviously I need to be quiet so I can go inside and listen to my deeper voice. And what is it I need to learn and grow from today? And usually when I do that, the answer always comes. And so I get the feeling, with you being laid up in that hospital bed, the only thing, and you had a brain injury. So the part that was really firing up, that was the part you utilized and said, no, I'm gonna still, I'm pretty clear, even though like I've got a lot of stuff going on and I'm really clear. So I guess my question to you is, what made you not afraid, or were you afraid?
I'm guessing it's like sometimes I was, but at the same time, I looked at it and said, if I don't, and then I embodied the fear of what if I didn't, of who would I be and where was I or what I wouldn't have. And I said, there's no freaking way I want to stay there. I'm going to strive forward, because if I fail, I just got to approach it differently or take it on differently. And as you said here in your book, you said, where was I just read it? Cool, sorry for that. No matter what people or the statistics are, and which is what I kept on hearing so often, people would say this or say that, and they go, well, statistically, it's like, stop with your statistics. They're only the statistics of the average.
Yeah.
And there's no bloody way I'm average. And I will firmly say that now. But it was based on that. If I lived up the statistics, I would be a statistic, and I didn't want to be a statistic. So it's like, what kept me going was it's just the knowing that, as we just said a moment ago, is that it was just something new for me to learn. Even if I failed, it was just something new for me to learn. And then at least I got to know more and I got to experience more. So therefore I could be a better person. And it's like this one chapter, and go back regarding the book that I wrote, it's all based on my journal. The entire book is based on my journal of what I've done. And so I'm not telling you statistically it's like this, or here's my thoughts, or hypothetically it's like this. I'm saying, here's what I've done, here's how I am. So in each chapter, like let's use a chapter here called As You Design It. as you design it to be, which goes
Right.
into what we're talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
I give you an example, design it, create it, use your imagination, allow that to go. And whether you, like you said at the beginning, well, what if somebody's really stuck or whatever it may be, envision yourself where you want to go, get a focal point of where you want to take on and aim for it. And I give you my own personal experience, come right to my journal, how I designed my next step, how I designed my life as I was going to go through rehab, as I designed it myself.
Yeah.
And right now, as I'm designing my own future.
Right.
And then I give you an example. So the reason why I put an example in here was so that not everybody can say, well, you're like you're just fortunate, or blah, 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 blah. It was just you. I give you an example of someone notable that did it. Like, for example, the example for design. The person I used was Gary Cox. He had so many different challenges in his own life, and he was paralyzed, different challenges. Everybody in here, every example I've used has been through whatever the title of that was, that the chapter that they're in there. Like right. Mother Theresa, under Just Give unconditionally with love.
Right.
And then I gave her example, and I gave my personal example. And under Design As to Be, and he designed his own life. He actually wrote out what he was going to do after his tragedy. I don't exactly recall what it is. Just read it. But then it shows how he designed it. And it goes back to what you and I were talking about earlier on, just before we got on the call. Designing your space in life with whom you desire to be with, or what you desire to be with.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that stops you. The only thing that stops you is you unwilling to take that next step and strive forwards. Like right now in the different scenario I'm in, like at each step that I went through my own rehab, and as of right now, I'm still designing my space of where I want to be and what I'm going to be doing next, what I'm taking on next. Mm-hmm. Because if I don't design it, then whatever the wind blows in becomes your reality.
Exactly. It's so what I hear you say is, to others, is whether you've had a drastic happening in your life, or if it's just something you're in a rut and you don't like where you are, but you want something else. Typically what stops us is fear of failure, fear of success, just fear. And so the bottom line is to feel the fear and do it anyway. And so I think if we could all think that we're our own artists, we get to paint on the palette, on the canvas of our life. And so what you're saying is, from birth to 29, your life was a certain way, and then this big bang happened, and all of a sudden you're in a hospital bed, and you're going, ooh, now what? And so that's when you started to become the artist of your life. And there were struggles along the way because you couldn't eat on your own or talk or walk or run or anything. And so you had to relearn everything. And so the thing is, and you have. And of course, until our very last day here on the planet, we're designing our life, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. And so what I hear you say is, it's a choice. Just make a choice and then go for it. And in that way, you don't live with regrets either. You go, yeah, you know what? I did my life by design.
And the great thing is, even if you go for it and you fail, you didn't fail because you took it on. Yeah. And there was somebody, I think one of the guys, I don't recall who it was, but he said, if you go for your goal and you aim for it and you're striving, and you only make it halfway, but you're still 100% further than if you never left.
Exactly. And
at that point, that's when you just bring yourself in and redesign, re-strategize, and take the next step.
Exactly. It's like being the captain of a ship. You're going to kind of go off, and then you come back, and then you go off, and you come back. It's it's like the ebb and flow. And
Mm.
so we get to be the captain of our own ship. And someone that's really, really down in the dumps, and that's really, really in a bad place, they might say, easy for you to say. And so what would you say to that?
It's only easy because I achieved it. It wasn't easy going through it,
Yeah.
but it was adventurous. I look at it as everything I took on. It was like, even today, I was like, what can I learn from this, and whom can I become going through this? And as long as I achieve that, I may not achieve the goal at that time, but I've achieved some greatness because I've become stronger mentally or physically or emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
It's a win. So when someone says it's easy for you, it's like me saying it's easy for the guy who just won the gold medal at the Olympics.
Yeah.
It's easy for you to say it's just a run.
Yeah.
Well, what did he do to get there?
Yeah.
It's all the steps in the way. It's all the things you got to persevere. It's all the things you got to strive through. It's all things you got to take on and overcome and do again and again and again until you get it correct or you get it smooth to works. It's practice. Life is practice.
Yeah.
Like we weren't handed an owner's manual and say, here's life.
Yeah.
Choose your own adventure. This life is actually more like choose your own adventure. You weren't given an owner's manual. So it's all about, well, you said even in the beginning, it's like, here's one of the other good things is we don't always have to do this ourselves. And that's why we've got so many leaders and so many podcasts. And now we've got this digital world, so much digital stuff out there we can learn from that'll help us strive to go forward, whether it be coming out of the dumps or a divorce or a death in the family or a personal injury or whatever facade of crap that you might go through. There's somebody that's been through it and there's someone that's achieved through it.
Yes.
And because of the podcast, the media being such a brilliant space today, almost certain that it doesn't matter what category you pick, someone's going to tell you how they made it through their journey.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. It's me telling you how I made it through my journey. It doesn't matter what you've been through. I've had a guy come back to me after he bought my book. After I meet him at a cafe in the beaches one year. And he goes, I got your book, Daniel. I was like, oh, excellent. How is it? He goes, I love it. I keep it on my desk all the time. Actually, I was just going through because I just pop open a chapter here and there whenever I feel like I have to, or something's calling me. And something in there allows me, I just advanced our company we just doubled the size of our company because of the lessons I learned in here on persevering and overcoming and taking on different things. So what I'm saying is it doesn't necessarily mean somebody's going through exactly the same thing as you. Just anything with a challenge. If you're dealing with a challenge, something you might learn something from this person, or from that person, or from this person, and then poof, you've got an understanding of how to take on yourself. Yeah,
exactly. I guess at the end of the day, we have to do our own work, and especially with the internet now, we have the biggest library in the World Wide Web, and so if we're feeling a little lost or down the dumps or whatever, if we can reach out and learn through somebody else's learnings, then it can really help us. And by hearing stories like yours, I mean, you really are a miracle, man. Many people have died with smaller accidents, but it's obvious that you're meant to be here. You have a big story to tell, hence why you and I are talking. And I think you have some more books inside of you. And I can't wait to follow your life, to see all of the next goodness that you bring. And I just wanted to say, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being my guest, because I know that by sharing your story, it's put a floodlight on lots of other people's stories, and I really appreciate that, Daniel. In closing, what would be the one thing that you'd like to share with people that something that they can do to take themselves from not a nice space to at least where they can move, do something, what would that one thing be?
It's tough to put it on one thing.
Okay.
But I gotta say, the most significant one thing, which, and it can be done so many different ways, is take time for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Some people go into meditation. I used to sit down and meditate all the time, but when I got my bike, that is my meditation. I get on the bike and I can be gone for an hour, 20 minutes, or 6 hours.
Yeah.
But that's my meditation. It's just getting on the bike and just disappearing out of I clear the thoughts from my head, or even sitting in a nice silent space. Like often I sit in a space in my room, and I got a meditative spot there also. Mm-hmm. I just sit down before bed and I clear my mind. Or some people, their meditation might be singing. Some people, their meditation might just be taking a walk, going for a walk with a dog. Mm-hmm. Find that space for yourself and be silent. Ask a question to the source, your divine God, Jesus, whatever you want to call it, the higher power, and just, or even just yourself, just ask, how can I take this on? And then be silent. Yes. Go for that walk, go for that jog, go for that bike ride, whatever. But be silent. That is probably one of the biggest things that I've learned for myself, is when I have something that's really twisting inside and I can't quite figure out the answer. I'll ask the answer just before I get on the bike, and then I just shut up. Yeah. I don't even have music on. I just shut up and go for a ride. And when I get back, intuitively I have the answer.
Yeah, it's true. It's what I hear you say is is ask the question, ask what your soul or heart desires, and then zip it. Be quiet and wait for the answer. Because I think so many times we keep asking questions on top of questions, but never ever listening for what the answer would be.
And the other big thing is every time somebody asks a question, when they get the answer, they go, well, that won't work. They get another answer, well, that won't work. They get another, well, that won't work. It's like, stop. If you knew what it was, why are you stuck and why you ask the question?
Yeah.
So ask and shut up. When your mind wants to start speaking up, all you got to do is say to yourself, be quiet, please.
Yeah. And trust whatever the answer is, take it and say, okay. And I totally agree with you. Mm-hmm. Well, I know that we could probably talk till next Tuesday, but we don't have the time. And I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so happy that we did this. You are definitely the poster child for perseverance, and your picture should be in the what is it, the dictionary beside perseverance and other things, other determination, and just all kinds of wonderful virtues that you have.
Thank you.
That I wrote about, and I'm so happy to be doing this with you. So thank you again. And I say to anyone, if you want to contact Daniel, please leave his contact under this video. And
I welcome it.
Yes. And if you need to contact me, mine will be there as well. Also, I invite you to check Daniel's book out. Daniel, where can anyone buy it? Can anyone buy it these days?
Chapters, Kohl's, Amazon, and there's a few other books named something like that. So just put my name in there.
Yeah, Daniel
Bax.
Okay, got it. And
you'll find it.
So, and also, if anyone would be interested in my book, 31 Virtues, I'm on Amazon.com or .ca, or either, it doesn't matter. And also on audibles.com.
Yeah, I also have an Audible for this one as well.
You have a what?
An audiobook for this as well.
Oh, do you? Oh,
yeah,
on Audible?
It's really good. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
I think it should be on Audible. Either way, there's an audiobook out there.
Okay. And well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and I'm sure we'll get to talk again. And
Absolutely.
thank you, Daniel. And I'm saying Theresa Hawco and Daniel Bax are saying goodbye to you today. Bye for now.
All the best, everybody.
Thank
Blessings.
you, Daniel.